Chairman, just have to talk to the court reporter so that he can take down everything that's said. And we're going to try to speak one person at a time and not over each other, which is the natural way conversation goes, but it's very difficult for our court reporter. So, please be mindful.
Okay.
Yes, call to order. I get a second from Patrice.
I second.
All in favor? Okay, please rise. Pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. The first order of business, Mr. Chairman, I believe is the selection of of the board, it's to select a chairman for the zoning board of appeals for the Village of Washington.
I will nominate myself.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's a 3-1 vote, and Mr. Bukowski now is the chairman of the zoning board of appeals for the village. Second order of business, I believe, is we call the agenda for this evening. Actually, I see you have an agenda in front of you.
Yes.
What if I take a look at that? Because I'm kind of bringing this at this point. Okay, I see that number 3 on the agenda is assignment of terms.
We've already assigned, they've already been assigned to us.
Okay, and that assignment was done by the Board of Trustees of the village at a prior meeting, correct?
That is correct.
Number 4, attorney informational. I believe in advance of the meeting, what I did instruct you was how the board proceeds, and that the election of the chairman was in order, and that you've deferred a substitute chairman to a later date in the event that the chairman is not present, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, with that being said, I believe that the next item is number 5, if you wish to proceed with that.
Great. Do I need the whole thing second or
Yeah,
anything?
you just calling the first item
Gotcha.
of business for this evening, which is the Casazza application.
Okay, I'm calling to order Mr. Casazza's application for a variance for lot changes. Fellow board members, anyone have questions that they need answered?
I hope you don't mind, I usurp your space here and come
Absolutely,
around.
come on down.
I wanted to give you a little background of what's going on, just so that you're all familiar, because this matter has gone through
Yes.
a couple of different ZBAs. We actually started it last fall. It's a small lot line change, no new building lots are being created, we're borrowing land from one lot we own and adding it to another lot we own. We actually had our official meeting with the planning board on January 10th. They referred us to the ZBA for a single variance and also referred us to the county for county input. On March 16th, there was a public notice for a public hearing on the variance requested. There was nobody showing up to raise any questions. The attorney at that time, who was named Cassidy, was referring the board, and she said that she would modify the application that the planning board made to the county to make it a joint application of the planning board and the ZBA. And she also indicated that no formal action could be taken by the ZBA because the planning board hadn't yet made a negative declaration. However, the ZBA at that time took a straw poll where they voted 3-0 in favor of granting the variance, which allowed me to go back to the planning board. We had a public hearing at the planning board on April 11th. Again, there was one comment, it just was questioning the addition and subtraction of the acreage. And then the planning board voted at that point to make a negative declaration. They are now ready to act on our application, but they need a confirmed vote of the ZBA. So that's the background of the story. As your attorney indicated, it's a very confusing map because there are 3 different lots involved. There's a couple of slope easements involved and so on. So I've made up this just as an idea of giving you what we want to do. The green area on this map is the existing lot. It's 1.55 acres. It has a dwelling on it. This is where my mother and father-in-law used to live, Ray and Janet Steves, and now my brother-in-law, Bill Steves, resides there. So that's the house. Over the years, we've taken this building back here and made it into a garage for the house. And this building over here has become a storage shed for the lawnmowers and so on. We have the main parcel on the market for sale, which includes these two buildings. So what we want to do is take this area in red and add it to the area in green, so that the final lot will be 3.5 acres instead of the 1.5. So that's what this very confusing map is showing. Now, the reason we need a variance, all of the new lot lines we've created, these over here, are in full compliance with the zoning. There's a lot line here that's an existing lot line now. It separates the 88-acre parcel from what used to be my wife's medical office, and that setback is not in compliance. But it's been that way since probably the early 80s. And so the planning board said we should go and get an official variance for that setback. And that's what's shown on your map, where it has a bulk table. Get the map over all the way. These are the bulk tables. Because the property is in two different zones, the house and the, no, actually it's in the BG zone, I think mostly. But at any rate, we have both bulk tables shown here. And right here, you can see where the variance is requested. The minimum frontage should be 20 feet, it's 3.5. Now, they're calling this frontage, but it's really not fronting on the highway. It's the dividing line between this lot and the rest. So that's the area that we're looking to get the variance for. Other than that, all of the other lines on the map are in full compliance with the zoning requirements. We borrowed some land from the 88-acre parcel. We took out 1.26 acres, but we had a strip of land here across the edge which is going to disappear. Because we're taking off the end of it where it meets the highway, this would be an isolated piece, so we're going to merge it. So the leftover 6.2 acres, 1.4 acres becomes part of the 88 acres. So again, that helps to make the map confusing.
Understood.
Does any board member have any questions, or does your attorney have any questions?
Just so I'm clear, are you looking for, is it a front setback variance, or is it a side setback, or something else?
It's actually referred to as a front setback
Okay.
because it's right here. It's the area that kind of faces Route 208, but there's an intervening lot. So again, I don't know if that would be referred to, I think the planning board referred to it as a frontage variance.
Okay, I just want to keep everything consistent as far as the
Yeah.
verbiage goes.
And that's what it is on the map. It's asking for a variance on the front setback. Any other questions? I spoke to the surveyor who did the work. I think by putting different colors on the map, it made it a little bit easier to read. But again, it was just because of where it's situated and because of the existing lot lines, it's just a confusing
Understood.
map.
Understood.
And with respect to this lot line change, Mr. Casazza, are you proposing any land development or any type of physical change to the premises?
No, there's no new lots being created, there'll be no building, there'll be no demolition. It is simply changing the ownership of a portion of the land that has those two buildings that we want to add to the house lot. So that's the only change.
And sir, by granting this area variance, will there be any detriment to the health, safety, or welfare of the neighbors or the neighboring community?
Again, our belief is that since this line has existed where it is now since at least early 1980s, that there'd be no change.
And is there any other way to obtain this lot line change other than what you're proposing here?
No, the existing buildings which are there are unfortunately too close to this lot line. So it's not a matter of not building a building, it's a matter of the building's already there. The only mitigating factor is the rear portion of the medical building lot is subject to a 20-foot sewer easement, which means there'll never be any construction on that 20-foot width. So although the building is only 3.5 feet back from the property line, the next 20 feet is going to remain open because it's a sewer easement.
And with respect to this variance, would you consider this a substantial variance or something other than that?
I'm viewing it as a minor area variance because all of the other new lot lines that we've created are fully in compliance with the zoning.
It's essentially an existing condition that has been that way for maybe 40 or plus years.
40 plus years.
Okay, nothing further?
Anyone on the board have a question?
No.
Okay.
And I'm requesting that the board grant the variance, and if they do, we will go back to the planning board and hopefully they can act to grant official approval, and then we can get our maps prepared and signed.
Yeah, any further questions of Mr. Casazza?
No.
Okay, so I think at this point, I think we can deliberate with respect to the granting of the, or denial of the application that is before this board. And it's a very limited application at this point, where he's basically looking for permission from this board in order to facilitate the lot line change that is before the planning board. And it's kind of peculiar because it's a condition that has been in existence for over 40 years. And we're just basically, he's looking for the permission of this board.
A ratification of the existing.
For verification, yeah. So, under the village law of the state of New York, you as the planning board have to go through for an area there. I'm sorry, for the zoning board. You as the zoning board have an outline basically with respect to approving or disapproving area variances. And for the record, let me just read those conditions that you have to go through. And generally, I suggest that a zoning board just answer each one, and then as we go down the line, at the end of that exercise, you usually have an idea of whether this is something that the board wishes to approve or otherwise. And I'm reading from Village Law, Section 7-712-B, subparagraph 3 under area variances. And subparagraph A basically states the zoning board of appeals shall have the power upon an appeal from a decision or determination of the administrative official charged with the enforcement of such local law. I'll give you a copy of this, sir. To grant area variances as defined here, and I apologize for my back. And then there's a section B, 3B, which states, in making its determination, the zoning board of appeals shall take into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance is granted, as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. In making such determination, the board shall also consider, 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to the nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance. Item number 2 for consideration by the board is whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Item number 3 is whether the requested area variance is substantial. Item number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. And 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the Board of Appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance. So those are the conditions. So we take them one at a time for the board's consideration. And it helps if you verbalize your position with respect to each one so that a proper record is made in the event that it has to be reviewed by a court at a later time. And also to facilitate the drafting of a decision, a written decision from this board. Item 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance.
My thought is that it's been existing for over 40 years, I don't see any issue with it personally.
I would agree, and it's a minor variance, there's nothing major about it. No one will know.
And I'm in compliance with what they've said so far as well.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's move on to number 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. So basically, is there something else that he could pursue?
Yeah, I don't see any benefit, especially with the easement, adding 20 feet to that, I'm more than okay with it.
So this easement would be less than 17 feet. He's like asking for a relief from the code of less than 17 feet.
Right.
And do the board members agree?
Yes.
I agree, yeah.
Okay. Number 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial.
It is not.
No, it's not.
Okay. 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No, do not believe so.
And 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Not at all.
No.
No.
And with that, what I would suggest is if the board is ready to reach a determination on this, that we essentially direct the attorneys to draft a resolution or decision of this board consistent with your discussion right now, and have it prepared for the chairman's signature.
And that would be your firm?
That would be my firm preparing it in a written form,
Correct.
outlining the exercise we just went through, and Mr. Casazza's presentation, and then if the board wishes to vote on it now, for essentially directing us to write a resolution of approval,
Right.
my office will do that.
Okay. All in favor of the attorney writing a resolution?
Yes.
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 And that that's a resolution of approval of this application of Mr.
That is
Casazza
correct, yes.
for area variance.
Okay, thank you.
And may the record reflect as a 3-0 unanimous vote of the board.
Correct. Yes.
And we will, at the board's direction, we will prepare that resolution for the chairman's signature.
And now we are prepared to vote.
I think you have, you directed it, and then if you wish to do a vote at this time, that would be acceptable also.
I would like that. All in favor of approving Mr. Casazza's application for variance for lot line changes?
Yes.
I just have to make a second of the motion.
Yes. Second.
I second.
Okay. Opinion?
Yes.
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 Yes. 3 votes in favor.
That would be 3-0 in favor of approval.
Congratulations, Mr. Casazza.
I have a drawn picture we took, give you a little better idea. This is the house that we're keeping. Obviously, this is the one building we're adding in, this is the other. The lot line runs right here, between this building and this lot in front. As you can see, it's all open, and it'll make the house able to use the garage that we designed for it. So,
Great.
thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I'm on my way to the library now, we have a meeting tonight.
Our
Believe it or
pleasure.
not, they scheduled that at 7 o'clock too. So
Thank you very much.
all right, take care, thank you.
And now we shall adjourn, correct?
No other business?
With no other business in front of us, I make a movement to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.